guess I'll jump right into the demo. So I assume the team leads will have access to your. Do you have an Azure DevOps repo of sorts, or should I add you guys to one?
Yeah, so each of the team leads can be able to create an organization and a team and a project. So the team leads can be able to do that.
So it's starting from the ground up, right?
Yeah, from the organization.
Okay, good. So I'll need you guys to go to dev.azure.com. So just follow my screen and do the same on your side. So once you go to dev.azure.com, actually, let me use a private browser because I already have an organization. Great. So this is where I want you guys to get at. So you have an option to start free or start free with GitHub. But that is if you have a GitHub account. Do you guys have a GitHub account?
I believe so.
Or Microsoft account.
Yeah.
So which ones would you guys prefer? Still the same experience at the end of the day. So when you click start free, it will allow you to create an account on Azure DevOps. So for me, usually the first step is logging in using your Microsoft account, but you can also create an organization using your GitHub account. So if you already have an identity with GitHub, it will allow you to sign in, okay? So it's easy as that. I authorize Microsoft to get access. So it's this is an identity conversation here. Wow, it still remembers my. Okay, let me use this. I link my GitHub account. I approve it from my multi-factor. Yours won't necessarily be the same process if you haven't set up multi-factor. Okay. And I have an account. I have an organization now. So as I was saying earlier, one GitHub organization can provide you with specific, like 5 user accounts, basic level for free. So you can manage several organizations here. You can create new organizations under the same tenant. So are we on the same page in that, in terms of creating the organization? Okay, so yeah. Isaac, still raising your hand saying you're okay, or?
No. I have a question. Okay, I didn't go the GitHub way. I went the start way. So I get a screen that tells me to get started with Azure DevOps, then project name. What should I have as my project name, and what should I have as my project visibility?
Yeah. Are you on your PC? Private? You can share your screen.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see.
Also, Patrick, I see you've raised your hand. What?
Okay, it only says only meeting organizers and presenters can share. So I can't actually share my screen.
You can be able to share now. I've already made your presenter.
Easy. Thanks. Let me just share that particular section of my screen. Can you? Okay, when you see my screen, you can just tell me, then guide me through this.
Yeah, we're good. So yes, project name. Don't give it Isaac. Do your teams have names?
Yeah.
Yeah, just use the team's name as the project name to start off.
Okay. Then what should
private?
Be the...
Choose private. Yeah, private.
Okay. Okay, so I think I'm good to go now.
Okay, great.
So let me just stop sharing.
Okay, so I assume now every team lead has created an organization. Is that a correct assumption? If you haven't been able to, just raise your hands. And probably Joshua you'd want to make all the team leads presenters so that it's easier for us to just collaborate on this. Hello, for the team leads who, if you've not created an organization, just raise your hand. Alex, you're good?
Yes.
Ayan?
The invites to my team members.
Great. Ayan, you're great? You're good? Felix?
I'm okay.
Joshua, you're good?
Yes, I have created, and all my team members should be able to access it.
All right. Julia? If you're having challenges, just let us know. We help you through the process. Okay, so Julia and Ayan, you haven't given me responses, so I guess we'll just proceed. All right, so I'll go to, so probably Joshua, share your screen. I just see your view. We use your tenant to set everyone up and set up the project. Great, so that is your first project. I assume everyone else have created their projects and have a similar view. So we want to get into the work item management. So click on boards. Let's go to boards.
I have actually given you control. I have given you control.
Okay, so boards, then here we have the work item, but remember we haven't set up the organization per se. So for us to set up specific activities here, you just go to organization settings. Then
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I wasn't able to see your screen, but I can see it right now. Would you please help me to know how the account I'm supposed to create?
Are you a team lead or a presenter? Sorry, a member.
A participant.
Member. You're a participant. Okay. This is a part where the team leads will do, and they will explain it to you. Okay.
Okay.
To save us, just to save time, we can't go through this process with everyone. So I'll allow the team leads to help you guys out. Yeah. So ideally, this is where you manage your organization. So it shows here the organization owner, which region your data is stored. You can change the time, since we are in Kenya, to UTC +3. So we'll go for Nairobi +3. Nairobi. Save that. If it was a complete organization, we do private URL and things like that, but here we don't need to. So you said you've added your users. So when you click on users, you have the option to add your members here. So you can just click add users. And actually, I would assume, being Microsoft student partners, you have access to Visual Studio, either professional or enterprise. There's an offering that you get as a Microsoft student partner. If you don't, do let me know. We try and figure out how you guys get access to that. Okay. All right, I'll go ahead. So just for all the team leads, just make sure you've come here, you've clicked on add users and added the email address for your team members, assign them access level to basic as a starting point. Then add to projects. You can, if you have many projects, you can choose add all, but since we have one, that's okay. Then send the invites. So I'll give you guys about a minute to do that. Is that reasonable for us to complete that task?
Yes.
Okay.
My end, it's done.
Cool. So Alex is good. Ian, are you good? Felix, you okay?
Okay, I added the members from the project level. I mean from the project level, so so nimekuja hapa kwa main settings za organization. Then there's this option for change access level. So I'm seeing basic, stakeholder, and Visual Studio subscriber.
Yeah. Yeah. So
by default, it's basic.
By default, it's basic. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. By default, it should be basic. Yes. So you see, like in this one for Joshua, they have Lydia Karanja as a stakeholder. So I would suggest you add for all the teams also add me as a stakeholder.
Oh, okay.
So that you're able to collaborate with specific teams in terms of work item management and sprints and things like that.
Okay, can you share your email address?
Joshua, could you type it on a notepad or something?
I think if he goes to add users and just searches your name,
there you go.
Find it.
Yeah.
Like you just say, I was able to find you automatically. So like if you can just like type VCOO and then you should find Collins Amwenga.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can go ahead and do that. I'll receive email addresses to get access to your Azure
VC.
DevOps.
So for the Azure DevOps groups, which one do you select? Is it contributor, reader, or administrator?
Access level is stakeholder. Groups is you can choose project administrators so that I'm able to actually add work items for you guys and stuff. All right. So just scroll here. Let me try and see if I can do that. Good. So yeah, I think we're good. So I'm expecting every member to have at least accessed this. So Jeff, your access is never. Let's change that. McKenna, Sandra, let's change that. Like, just go and try and make sure you have access to this organization from your machine, and you're able to view the projects for your team. So that is now for everyone. We all need to be at the same level. I see Joshua's team. Your team members have already created. You've created specific organizations. So these are a number of organizations that you've created here. So
actually, those are different organizations. Like different organizations I've worked in the past. Like Josh Cardiff, that's my personal. Rohini Alex, that's an organization you are collaborating with Alex. So like that, they are just different.
Okay, great.
Organizations. Yeah.
Okay. So still works. So for anyone, you can actually do the same. Like you can be invited into a project within an organization, but you're also able to create your own organization. So for me, best practice is for your own learning, create your own organization where you can have your own projects and play around with it. So it's like having a GitHub repository account. But now the good thing here, it allows you to have private repositories for free. GitHub, for you to have private repositories, I think you have to pay. You get a GitHub Enterprise account for you to get private repositories. All right, so let me just go to now show you how you create a project. So the assumption here is, the onboarding goes ahead and creates a project. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and just show you in a scenario where you need to create a new project, what you should do. So I'll come here to my Azure DevOps account, then click new project. So I can give the project name. So I'll say test project. Then I can give the project a description, and then I choose whether I want it public or private. So in this scenario, I just choose private. And then for version control, you have two options, Git or Team Foundation version control. We'll go with Git for today because this is what you worked with. If you guys are interested, we can find time and I'll take you through Team Foundation version control. And then for work items, we have Agile Basics, CMMI, and Scrum, and you can customize this. So let's go with Agile. Just click create, goes ahead and creates a project. There you go. So you have a new project, very fresh. You're the only member. So if it's a scenario where you're a project administrator and you're creating a project and you need to add others to the project, when you come to project settings, you can do those changes. So go to teams, and then you can add guys to that team. So you can add users. So in this scenario, you're selecting members who already exist within your organization. So for this one, I've tied it to an Azure Active Directory. Okay. So when I add users, instead of just picking anyone, it goes first and checks if that user is in the Active Directory account. Let me just switch to that and show you. So if you have an Azure Active Directory integration, that's here. So I'll presume your scenario will have this. It will have like it's not connected to any Azure Active Directory. So this is what will be linked out. I have an error here. Remember. So yeah, you see this one. Like I can add you, but as long as if you're not in my Azure Active Directory, then you cannot sign in. So for me, that is how I protect my IP for the organization. Okay. So I digress, but let me just show you that. So let's go directly. So we have the test project done. When it comes to boards, now we want to plan your work items. Remember we set it as agile, so you'll have all these features available. So you can create bugs, epics, features, issues, tasks, test cases, user stories. If you do Scrum, it will be slightly different. I think it will have epic, features, and the tasks, test cases, and work items. So let me just show you an example. I think it could be a share every2 is in Scrum. So if I come to my boards here and I want to create work items, I have product backlog work items instead of user stories. So it's more or less the same thing. It's just a matter of how you're going to do it. And so once you do that, we can go ahead. Probably Joshua, share your screen so that we go through a process of you guys setting up a project like the work items. Okay.
Okay, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, how can you change if you had set up your project and maybe you chose Scrum or Basic? So how can you change that? Because I'm seeing it's impossible to change.
It is possible. Joshua, just go to organization settings. Click on organization settings. Actually, on project settings, not organization, project settings. Sorry, just select the project. Select the project. Then go to project configurations on board. Yeah, so you see the process is agile. Actually,
yeah,
shown there. So let's see project configurations. Not there, repositories, cross agent. Okay, go back to organization settings. I think yours is slightly different. Let me just make sure we're on the same page. Okay. On board, click on process. Yes, there you go. So your process is agile and work item types are those ones. So yeah, this is where you can choose. So basic is default. You can use agile, Scrum. You can actually create a custom process. Huh? I think you don't have, it's a matter of rights. So you don't have the right to change. Just give me a minute to confirm that. Project agile, process visibility, team configurations. Okay, anyway, I'll figure it out and let you guys know. But I do know it's something around the permissions that you have on your side. So we can just go back and create the work item. So probably you guys could give me an idea of what project you guys are working on in your team, and then we try and figure out how to plan that work item, the work items. What is your project about?
So we are providing a solution for an e-health, to access the health services remotely. So we'll be building a mobile app which has a backend and yeah.
Okay, it has a mobile app. So do you have like do you have it somewhere written that you can show on the screen?
So like, what do you mean by somewhere written?
Like the concept or the problem statement, something of that sort. Then we try and collaborate on that. Do you guys mind extending this call? Because I don't think we can finish by 9. Let's extend to 9:30 if that's okay with you guys.
Okay.
And no problem.
Okay, so Joshua, you can just show us your problem statement.
It's not really well documented because that's
it's not. Relax. It doesn't have to be. Relax. Una panicky.
Yeah, it's not documented really well. So like we just know what we're working on. We're here to do the final documentation of the project. Yeah.
That's okay. So I want to also probably just raise this up. Sometimes when you're working on a project, you don't really have time to document it properly, but Azure DevOps can help you do that. Okay. So I want us to just go through, actually click on your project. We use the Wiki feature to document your project. Go to your project. Then there's Wiki somewhere there. There's under overview, summary, dashboards, then Wiki there. Create a project Wiki. Great. So describe your project there. I would also advise the rest of the team to do the same so that I don't have to ask these questions. I can just come to your repository, check out your project statement or description. Then as we are done with this introduction, as you guys start work item planning, then you're able to. Then I can able to like tell if you're doing it correctly. If there is some best practice you should follow, something like that, it will be a little bit easier. Okay.
Okay. I didn't see where you got that wiki. Can you just go over it once more?
Oh, yeah. So go to the root project probably. Yeah. Click on Azure DevOps there. So on the root project, you just select. I mean, on the root account. Just share your screen. Like it's easier for us to guide you as Joshua continues typing.
Okay, there goes my screen.
Great. So click on the Azure DevOps icon, top left. Yeah. Click on Media Chap, the project. Good. So you see Wiki there? Overview, summary, dashboards.
Yeah. It's perfect. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. So let's go back to Joshua. Joshua, share your screen as the rest of the teams continue doing that. So for me, one of the outcomes of this call is to at least have you guys have described your problem statement so that I get to understand, or anybody else gets to understand, what the project is about. And that is a very important functionality or feature that is required for you to collaborate nicely with a team, because you can imagine not every scenario you'll be available to introduce everyone into a project. So for example, Windows 10 is a product that has been built for the last how many years? 40 years. So if you bring a new engineer into the Windows 10 team, start menu project, and they don't really know what they're doing, it means you have to set up a meeting with everyone else to just provide information about what that is and stuff like that, which is time consuming. So you'd rather start by documenting everything as you go along. So by the time you're done, you already have the documentation. Make sense? I assume when you're silent, we are on the same page.
Yep. Individuals like me.
Yes.
Okay.
Individuals
so,
like.
I think it was Isaac who had raised his hand. Isaac Matanya.
Yeah, I got to understand what we're supposed to write on the wiki. So yeah, initially I did not write, but now I get.
Okay. All right. Okay. Great. Anyone who has a question so far as we continue? Yes, Newton, go ahead.
Are there levels of control on, for example, on a project? If you have a project, there are levels of control such that there are particular people who can be able to edit a wiki and others are not.
Yeah, that is possible. So that is a deeper discussion around management of Azure DevOps itself. We can have a whole week of a conversation around it. But ideally, from a simple perspective, it allows you to do that. So from a best practice angle, I usually advise you don't add specific users to specific groups or specific projects the way we've done. Best practice is create groups, like teams of sorts. And especially this applies very, very well if you have Azure Active Directory that is integrated into a corporate organization, for example. You usually have an IT guy who's managing your Active Directory. They create groups and departments and things like that. So that can really, really help. Once you have that on Active Directory, you can use the same structure in your Active Directory on Azure DevOps. If you don't, you're able to create specific groups within Azure DevOps and then refer to users through that. So let me just show you a customization that I've done for an organization that I consult. Give me a minute. Actually, that's a very good question in terms of just understanding how this thing works. For me, it took a while to get to understand that the management aspect of Azure DevOps, but since I have experience working with working with Azure Active Directory, I have an idea of how that is set up. So there's this organization called Upepo Technologies that builds smart water meters. Let me just show you how that I've set up that organization. Where's it? Users. So here we have specific users that have, so you see like this licensing called direct group rule. So the licensing here is different. It's not the basic one. This is tied to Azure. So there is a billing that is done through Azure. So the payment for this is through Azure. Okay. Then we have group rules. So here, this is where you separate your group. So you can decide you have for this organization, we have one group that is called Upepo Dev Team. Access level is basic. So I can add another group rule and say, I want to create a new Azure DevOps group, and I can assign people to that group. So in this scenario, see, it's very easy. I know this is a group that I want to collaborate with everyone. So I just say Upepo Dev Team. So anyone in Upepo Dev Team has access to that. And then I can create a new, if I don't have, I can create a new group rule. And then I have the option of selecting from an existing Azure DevOps or Azure Active Directory group, okay? So in this scenario, if I have anyone in my Active Directory, I think I have security service group, yes, which is different. And I think I have hardware. No, I don't have hardware. Okay. So you see, in this scenario, if I have a Teams channel, or rather an Office 365 group. If I have an Office 365 group, it deploys sites, Teams, OneDrive, email, all those things. I can still use the same group here, okay? So it makes it a little bit easier from a corporate perspective to just manage. So for Upepo Dev Team, if I want to add, you've seen how you want specific people to have access to specific projects. So I'll go to, like, let's say Bahari Firmware. Since this is the firmware for the smart meters, if I look at the members for this team, I have specific members. So for the teams, I have the Bahari firmware team. Okay, so that's me who's customized that. And within Bahari firmware team, I have one guy who does hardware and then myself as an administrator. But when I come to back to the project overview, you see I have an external party who's an administrator. Okay, so this guy has access to the project. They can administer, they can create branches, they can pull code, they can check in code and all that. So that is the approach you are supposed to do. But I digress. But ideally, I've just shown you how you can manage a team. That is not the complete scenario, but at least you have an idea, and I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Great. So where were we? I think I've lost track. Oh, we were creating what do we call them? Problem statements for our teams. Okay. So I assume now everyone has that.
Yes.
Joshua, you're good. Alex,
Yes.
you're good.
Yes.
Ayan, are you good? If you're speaking, you're on mute. Felix, are you good?
Yeah.
Jeff? Julia?
Yes, I am good, Colin.
Great. So Joshua, back to you. Share your screen. Sorry? I am? You're also good. Okay, cool. Joshua, just share your screen. Okay, so yeah, let's try and see how we can create work items for you guys. So your problem statements around epidemics, natural disasters, and work are some of the reasons that prevent people from visiting healthcare centers for treatment. This increases patients opting for self-treatment, they have improper medical knowledge. How can we use technology to come up with e-health systems that will enable patients to access this No more medical services remotely from their homes. So just to clarify again, Pat Wanjiru, you have a question? Please go ahead. You're on mute if you're talking. Okay, we'll get back to you. So I assume Joshua and the rest of the teams, the problem statement is the same? Or it's different?
Yes.
It's
the same.
It's the same.
For everyone, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, great. That makes it even easier. So whatever we'll discuss here, it's possible for you guys to replicate on your environment. So the solution that you guys are thinking of is create a solution that will enable individuals access medical services remotely using a mobile application. We seek to ensure that individuals can be able to access services, including but not limited to consultations and booking of appointments. The solution targets both individuals and large organizations, where in the case of the large organizations, we provide an easy integration to Microsoft 365, and individuals in these organizations can access these services using their M365 account. And for individuals, they can access the services with their RMD. Oh, I think you, yeah, it's a typo of sorts that you had. So probably you'd want to remove the M365 account part for the individuals, yeah. Good. Okay, so now let's try and break this down into features. That is the first step. So we know, so this is now my practice. I look at epics, features, work items. I usually use Scrum. I don't use Agile. So from a Scrum perspective, let's go back to our board. Actually, just give me a minute. I want to get a copy of your solution statement. Could you send it on mail? Just send it on mail, on my mail.
But you're already part of this organization, so like you should be able to access.
I don't want to switch.
Okay.
Organizations. I want to use my account to show you what is possible.
Okay. Check it on Teams.
Also, could you find out? Could you find out why the chat is disabled for this meeting probably, or it's in the whole organization? Because we should be able to collaborate on chat here. Probably disabled or something.
Okay, Collins, are you able to get a message from Teams from me?
Yes, but when you type it, I think it goes to the Microsoft Student Partner Guest tenant.
Yeah. I've sent it there. Can you?
I'll have to literally end the call, switch to that side, pick it. That's why I feel email will be faster.
Yeah, sure, fine. Just give me a minute.
Email will be faster. But as you do that, probably something we can start working on. Let's just from your own perspective.
I have sent.
Okay. All right. So the teams, just from your own perspectives, what do you think would be a good feature to start with? From an epics perspective, we are thinking of a mobile application. A mobile application requires you to have like the mobile app itself and then a backend service. So let's have actually 3 epics. We have the mobile app as an epic, then backend service as an epic, and also data management as an epic. So you can go to boards, then create new work item, epic. Yeah, set that up as a mobile app. Probably you can give it whatever name you want, knock yourself out. But ideally, just from a perspective of how you collaborate, it can identify that you're working on a mobile application for that epic and stuff like that. So we create nested work items. Okay, so just save. We don't need to describe it further for now. Just save. That the description and all that, you'll do it when you're doing your work item planning as a team. So just go back and create the others. So the rest of the teams, you can also do the same. Try and see if I can show you a scenario of how that looks like.
Have you received the email?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Thanks. While you're doing that, let me share my screen and take you through a scenario of something similar. Okay, so where was it? Column options to see the work items type. So for my epics in this project, I only have one epic. So in this scenario, I have Eco Biashara version 2. This is a financial management application. So when I go towards, when I go to boards, backlog. You still can see my screen?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
So yeah, so we need to get to this view. Okay. So ideally, just go to backlogs on your side, and let's try and see what you can see. So
can I share my screen?
Yes, please. Yeah, you're good. That's where you're, yes, exactly. So we're good. So that's okay. These are on work items. Click on boards. And then click view as backlog. Top there. Good. And then at the top right, you see stories. There's the top right. Yes, there. Choose epics. Good. So now we have your epics. So you see the plus sign along the list of REM mobile. Let me request control so that I show you how we can do this. Okay, so here, this icon, it allows you to add a feature because it's nested, all right? So it becomes a little bit easier for you to plan against a parent item. You see this link here? Add a link. So this is one way of doing it. The other way would be, which is, in my opinion, would be more tedious than doing it this way. You'd come to work items and say, I want to add a new work item. I know it's a feature, click on feature. Then I'll go ahead and add related work here. Add a link. I can't see, please, can you minimize this? Yes, thank you. So I can either add an existing item or create a new item. So here I want to add an existing item. When I click on it, it will allow me to choose, am I creating a child type or a parent? So I'll select a parent. And then when I click here, it shows me. So I want to add a feature to the mobile app. So I click that, say okay.
Okay, Collins, just before you create the feature, so how is the architecture? Do we have stories? How do you arrange this from an epic? What is the child of an epic? As in, how do you arrange the children from the parent? If the parent is an epic, if the parent is a user story, or can a user story be a child in an epic?
Yes.
Or yeah, maybe you can explain all of that.
Yeah, so it's hierarchy. The best example I'll probably give that everyone understands is HTML. From HTML, when you're talking about DOM manipulation, the HTML tag is the parent. Then we have header, then body, then probably footer. Then header is a child to HTML, and then same as body. Then within header, you'd have title. Then title is a child of header. So you see that hierarchy?
Yes.
Yes, so it's the same hierarchy we're trying to create here. Let me share my screen so that I explain it much better from this context so that you get to understand. So we'll be switching back and forth several times. So here I have epics as my main thing. So if I click on backlog items, it will only show me things that I've created as backlogs as the default. But if I go here, say epics is the topmost parent, all I need to do to have visibility of the things that I've added, I just click on this arrow. It will drop it down. So I have see all my features. And the features that have work items in your side will be user stories. I just click on that and I'll see my work items. If a work item has tasks, click on that, I'll see the tasks. Okay. So that's what we're trying to achieve here. So it becomes easier for you to plan your work, because when it comes to sprints, you will only see user stories or work items. So you're focused to that specific area, okay? And I'll see bugs, if I've raised bugs. So I'll see the topmost element here is my work item that I've added to that specific sprint. I've aligned it to that specific sprint, okay? Let me look for something that I've described. Have I confused you guys or on the same page? Ask questions if you have.
We'll take time to internalize this whole concept of.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want you guys to really get bogged down to this, to the administration part, because a lot of the things that you guys are focused on is around the development part, but this is necessary to know from a work planning perspective. And I guess when they were setting up the sprint, that's why I kept asking, hey, you guys already have sprints and we haven't even talked about how you're supposed to work, to plan your work and stuff like that. So just remind me, Joshua, what are you guys supposed to start working on next week?
The API.
The API, you're supposed to start code.
So for my, so that's for my team.
Yeah, so for best practices, usually I would tell you, you need to plan your work first before you start. Okay, so like let's say in this scenario, I haven't planned this week actually. This sprint, I haven't planned this for this project. So for me to plan, I have to come sit down with my team, understand from epics, are we building what are we building? Let's collaborate on that. Okay, that is why it was important to start from that perspective. Just understand, what are you trying to do, the problem statement. Then what is our proposed solution? How are we doing that? You see, like I need to describe that. I need to create an acceptance criteria. I need to, if there are discussions can happen here, I need to prioritize what efforts are made here, things like that. Then once people are starting to check in code, it can be related to specific work items, okay? It makes it a little bit easier. So when I go back to the boards and just look at my, actually let me go back to backlogs and look at my Eco Biashara version 2, click on it. So I have a description. This is intended to be new, revamped Eco Biashara that will run on Azure and delivered for SMEs in Kenya. Acceptance criteria. The product should have sales, purchases, expenses, inventory, and dashboarding features. So now, as a developer, you'll know what is expected out of this product. That is the acceptance criteria, okay? Then now you leave it at that. At the epic level, you're done. Probably depends on how well you're managing your project. So let me just try and see if I can get this for you guys. So these are the products that we're looking at. Okay. So sales, purchases, expenses, inventory, and dashboarding. So when you look at my features, I have expenses, reporting, user and identity management, sales processes, purchase processes, dashboard, supply activities, you see? So like they are all related to delivering this specific things. So let's go to purchases. Actually, let's go to sales, because sales has work items. So under product items for sales, like let me go to sales. I hope I haven't described
okay,
it.
Collins.
Yes.
Collins, I don't know. I don't know whether I'm the only one, but I can't see any changes on your screen. I don't know whether I'm the only one.
What do you see in my screen? In your screen right now?
Like it's frozen on the setup front end build system.
I think it's on your screen only because I can see his screen.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, cheers. Okay, let me look for something that I've probably described. I think I've described mostly the specific tasks. Audit trail. No, there's identity, setup front-end build system. This one also doesn't have. So you see, this is the challenge that you'll find if you do not do planning properly. Like you'll come to the specific features and whatever. There are no descriptors, no acceptance criteria. It becomes a little bit tricky. But these are teams that I usually work with. So most of the focus is around the tasks that we're doing. Probably some of them are. Let me go to quotation list. I hope. Oh crap. I've remembered where these ones are. So for this scenario, we were planning most of these activities in a Trello because the client is familiar with Trello. I will digress a little bit, but it will help at least understand from a planning perspective. Good. So same things, but the planning here is a little bit different. So when I click on expense process, I have expense list, add expense. Those are the activities that are supposed to be done there. Let me go to one that is work on sign up. Yes, select package on sign up page, have a default package selected. Those have been completed. And then I've integrated this to this Azure DevOps team. So like this deployment of release 23 succeeded, whatever, this is published from my release sprints. So I'll allow me to confuse you a little bit. And for guys who haven't been introduced to Azure DevOps, I'll go directly to my releases and actually not to my project settings and show you the integrations that I've done. Service connections, yes. Service connection that I've done. I have connected to my Azure account. So this is an Azure account that I do deployments to. So when I go back to my project and look at my pipelines, so my pipelines, these are the builds and the releases. I'll get back to the work item part a little bit. Let me just go through this. So I have my builds set up and I have my releases also set up. And the way I've done it is I've set up, if a release is successful, it will post to my Trello board, and also it will send an email to tell me that this deployment is successful because I've automated it. I'm not controlling the builds and releases. And that is the importance of just planning your work items. It becomes easier to let developers work the way they feel it's more robust to them. So I'll go to bugs. I know these ones are clear. Actually, even these are a clearer work item that I've described a little bit further. And I've actually used a tool to generate some of these things. So I've gone ahead and said deleting a customer should be changed to deactivating a customer instead. That is a feature, part of a feature, and I classify it as a task. I've assigned it to Timothy, and then I've created a description of how it should be done. So when I click on customer, because this is an existing functionality, is just an improvement into it. So I click on customers, I click on more icons, then delete. And click the delete option. So I've even recorded the screen. So you can go through this process. When you click on this screen recording, it will literally show me how that goes. And then you see it's linked. It's not linked to a related work item at this point in time, but it's related to there's code that is related to it in terms of development. So there's some fixes and some pull requests that have been done, and then a build integration. So I'll go to this merged PR fixes. It will open in another window. It will show me the code and the changes. So I can tell this is what has been changed here. This is what has been added. These have been reduced and things. So you can do side-by-side comparison. So this is the old file. This is the new file. This is how it looks like. So then if I go back here, there was a pull request. So you can see based on the icon, there's a pull request. So if I click on that pull request, it will open that pull request for me to review. And it allows you to do a lot of details here. So what type of pull request was it? The merge strategy was merge, no fast forward. Source branch was deleted. Associated work items were completed. So this is a policy I've set in this whatever. So you have, for you to check in, you have check in work items, and the build runs and the release goes. It will associate that work item and say it's completed. And the work items it shows is here. There's a bug for customer details are not visible in the model. Then deleting a customer should be changed to deactivating customer instead, and collect payment button. So how this relates to how you deliver the software, you see I have a release. So if I click on this release, it will show me the release pipeline, what happened. So the build happened here. And it generated a work item that was published. Okay, so I can tell based on the commit ID, the branch, the time, what work items. It will give me the issues that were matched here and the jobs that were done. So this is the pull request. For the pull request, it triggered a build. Okay, so this is a pipeline, a build. That build also triggers a release. Okay, so I can, when I come to this release 23, it will allow me to have visibility of what triggered this. So I have an artifact here. So it's a result of build number 25. Okay. So you see, I can trace this back to my work items. So you see how it's important to actually plan when someone is working and creating features or fixing bugs and things like that. It's easy to go back here and say, actually, this has been done. And if I had aligned this to actually, let me do that. Let me just make sure I link this to a specific feature. So what I'm trying to do here is to just show you how you do this seamlessly, so that you don't have to come back here and add links after the fact. You do the planning before you get to this level. Okay, so this is a child of which feature? Actually, of which product backlog item? Customer should be able to log in, test cases. Actually, I have a lot of test cases here. Control, no. These are tests actually. So if I want a specific, like in this scenario, I want a specific element in my work item, I'll go back to my board, get my work item list, and I want to fix it to the sales. Where is it? Sales process feature.
I guess we might have a question from Felix. His hand is
okay.
raised.
Oh, okay. Just ask.
Okay. Though this one is a little bit ahead, but you mentioned artifacts. These artifacts, I've never understood what it is.
Artifacts is the outcome of your build. Like if I do a build, what comes out of it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what do you mean? What do you mean by what comes out of it? Because if you build, it automatically goes to deployment. Okay. If you specify that, it will automatically go to deployment. I mean to release then to deployment. Now, what about this artifact?
Yeah, so ideally it does it automatically because you've always been working on your dev environment. So when you do your build on your dev environment, it creates a dev version of your solution a debug version of your solution. So if you want to do a release version of your solution, it's more or less the same thing, but for a release version, you're saying that I'm not building to debug, I'm building to release. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me link this to the sales work item. I know it's a feature number 3. It will filter to that. I select, click OK. So when I come back to my backlog, sorry, save changes. Come back to my backlogs. And look at my sales process features I have here. Delete customer module should be changed to deactivate, and then let me view it as a board. Let's see where it is. And I switch that to features. Actually switch to backlog items so that it can show me the tasks. So here we should have that task somewhere here, quotations, set up front-end build system. Oh yeah, it's not in this sprint, so it won't be visible. But ideally, you get the gist of it. So when you're planning your work item, you start with your epics. What am I? And it's not, by the way, it's up to you to figure out how your epics should look like. It doesn't have to be mobile and web and database. That's my approach. So you can figure it out the way you want. And that is why it's important to plan so that your team has synergy around how you're doing those things. So let's agree we're building a mobile app and a web app. And then if you're building a mobile app, what other things do we need to consider when it comes to planning our work items? So what I wanted to achieve for me in this call is to let you guys be aware about how you're supposed to plan your work. But ideally, I've just given you an example of how you can do that, and this will help you guys to figure out. So probably the questions now, because you're supposed to do it as a team. And then once you have challenges, you can raise it up. We help you guys to figure it out. Look at it from a perspective of, do we understand what this means? If I'm creating an epic, what does that mean? If I'm creating a feature, what does that mean? If I'm creating a product backlog item or a user story, what does that mean? If I'm creating a task, what does that mean? Okay.
Felix, I have maybe one small request. Maybe you can just take maybe a fictitious, like the way you've said a mobile app as an epic, and you break it down. We have the mobile app as an epic. Maybe you show us one user story that can be in the mobile app, and maybe a feature, and then a user story, and maybe a task. With that, the teams might be able to understand how they'll go ahead and arrange their backlog items.
Okay, yeah. So from the solution that you guys are trying to create, we've already identified we have a mobile app and a backend platform. And the reason why I've added data management is because you need to. The first step for me when I'm building software is to design the database, the data store. How will data sit in my data store, whether it's a database, it's a blob storage, whatever. Figure that out. Once you figure that out, it becomes easier because you've created a solid foundation to build your application. So that will be extracted out of the user stories or the work items or the features or the epics that you have. So of course we know if it's for a mobile app, how does that architecture look like? So it goes back to the initial planning that you guys have to do before you start writing code. And I will insist you have to do that. If you need to talk to Ruth to reschedule the sprints to make sure that you guys get this done, because you can do it in 3-4 days. Then once you do the planning, it becomes a little bit easier for you to create a cadence that you have continuous deployment and continuous development. But ideally, let's think about how that architecture will look like. Let me try and see if I can do a whiteboard here and share with you guys. In my opinion, when it comes to DevOps, work item planning is the most important factor, but usually a lot of people tend to overlook it. If you don't do your work item planning very, very well, then it becomes a little bit hard for you to sort things out. Let me invite you. Okay, I'm sure this will take some while, but since I'm sharing the screen, let me try and see if I can build an. Actually, let me use a tool that you guys are familiar with. Plain old basic PowerPoint.
And Visio.
Visio is an overkill right now. We don't have, like, for me to create a good Visio diagram. We need time, and I need you guys to ramp up as fast as possible. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. So there's some projects that we're doing with the World Bank around data strategy and data management for the agriculture sector. You find that you have meetings weekly with guys, and ideas and concepts around things you're trying to deliver happen quite fast. So you need to like figure out how to capture that information very, very easily when you're in those meetings, and then you go refine later and provide that. So this is a typical scenario. So I usually, my de facto would go to PowerPoint, go to insert, say create a shape, very basic shape. This one, and I'll call that mobile app. And put it there, copy paste. Say I'm doing web backend. Then of course something that would probably look like a database. I'll use a different shape. 3D shapes, basic shape. Anyway, let me use this. And say this is the database. Those two arrows. There's this. It should be bidirectional actually. Bidirectional. And another one, bidirectional. That's a very rudimentary, very extremely rudimentary architecture. Then now you start having discussions around how will this look like. I can come and say, let me insert a text box. Sorry, not a comment, text box. And say Android paste need SQL Lite stroke remote or offline DB. And the assumption here is we are having these discussions as a team, and we are agreeing on how we are going to approach this problem. Okay. Then we come back here, say this will be a web API that connects to our SQL Azure database. So you see now, when you think about it, we've gone over and above the tool. We are now actually thinking about the process now. Okay. So this will be a SQL Azure database that will store blah, 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 blah. So you describe patient data, whatever, things like that. You've already started creating the user stories here. Okay. So from from a user story perspective, we know this is an epic on our side. We've already described it's Android based, so we know what language we are going to use, or we will discuss and agree on that. We know it will need a remote or offline database, so that already you've started thinking about the features. When it comes to the web backend, you're already talking about these are a web API that connects to SQL database. So how are you going to do it? Probably you're going to do you like decide if it's an ASP.NET Core web API solution, PHP, whatever. Doesn't matter. You figure it out. So when you come back to the work item, probably share your screen, Joshua, so that we just do it on your environment. Let's start with the mobile app. Then you guys can continue with the rest. So we want to add a feature. So of course the feature on a mobile app, or even generally, that's actually general, that cuts across all scenarios, is user authentication and authorization. So now here's a scenario. You need to decipher how you're going to implement that. Is it the same across all authentication and authorization for your database, for your API, for your mobile app, or is it something specific for your mobile app?
Okay, we've already discussed about that.
Okay, so what did you guys come up with? Like, what was the outcome of your discussion?
So yeah, you can either use Office 365 or you create an account with us. So for Office 365 is in the case of an organization, or you're not under an organization, you just create an account with us, and that is used on the mobile app and on the backend.
Okay, so now at the epic level, create a feature. And
maybe you can take control, and then so that I can see how you're going to go about that.
Okay, all right. So even here, like this is a good step. Okay, let me request. Okay. So here, I'm adding a feature, and I'll call it user management. The management. This is a feature that will provide identity management services. That is authentication and authorization. Leave it at that. I'll come to it later. But under user management, there's something you've mentioned. There are two user stories. As a user, I should be able to log into the mobile app via a work or school account. So here's a methodology for me, because sometimes I don't describe it a lot. I'll actually go ahead and do this and describe the feature on the title. But alternatively, I can say I'll describe it fully here, and then say my acceptance criteria is user is able to log into the mobile app using the account. So the AD account is O365. Basically, it's Azure Active Directory. Then you can do discussions there remotely and stuff. Then you can put priority in terms of numbering. So 1 being the highest, 4 being the lowest. So in this scenario, I can say 1, because without this, then users can't access. And then classification, is it a business issue or architectural? This is more of architectural because it determines how you access services and solutions. Then we can even go ahead and assign this to the team who will actually be in charge of that. Let's say for this example, I'll say Joshua, and then what else? Iteration. So this, for the iteration path, this is now the sprint. So if you want to do it for a sprint that is in the future, you can choose it here. So I'll say iteration 1. Probably you will be the one who needs to click save and close.
There's no title. There's no title.
Oh, sorry. What did we say? A user should be able to log in to the mobile out, right? So this is login, user login actually. Save and close. Good, so we have it there. Then now we can go ahead and add specific tasks. So here we'll have design, the login, right? Then I'll add another task. Say login functionality. Login functionality. And say save. So there's a part that we have skipped around planning your team, who's doing what in your team. So let me just switch screens to mine and show you an example of one that I've already done that. Can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Settings. Private sprints. I'm trying to remember how. There are many ways of killing a rat. I'm trying to remember the quickest way that we. Yeah, I think it is here. Settings. Configure team settings. Yes. Now configure team settings. So this is what I was talking about. You can choose to use Epic's features, backlog items, or disable these ones and work at backlog items alone. So it depends on how your team is structured. Now, working days. Set it up, then working with bugs. Should bugs be managed with requirements or not? Or when I'm at the backlog level also, I think there's some settings here that are slightly different. No, not here. Should be at the project settings. Where was it? Team configuration. Yeah, this is the one. Iterations. So this is where I plan my sprints. Okay, so like the difference you'll see here, when you do agile, it's called iterations. When you do Scrum, it's called sprints. So that's the difference of it's a template of how to easily customize your working and how you label things and name them. And then you see you also have the option to choose the default iteration, whether it's current or it's a future. The backlog iteration, like the ones that you view by default, you can choose that and change. So there's a lot of moving parts here. So these are the templates. You can create specific templates that will apply to your work item. So it just makes it a little bit easier when you're starting. Like if it's within the field, or if it's assigned to. So by default, I can set a group, and this is now where the power of setting it up initially works. So if I have a group set up here, I don't have a dev group, but if I had a dev group and I want the assignment to be done automatically here, and this actually works very, very well, especially when you're planning these top level ones, the epics and the feature ones. If you've noticed, we haven't scheduled anything here. So you can say who is in charge of a specific epic, who is in charge of a specific feature. So you can put a team to be in charge of that. Product backlog item, same. But tasks, usually you assign it to an individual. So you come and manage that from this perspective. I think I have digressed, and I've forgotten what was the end goal of me showing you guys this. If you guys can remind me.
Team management, like assignment of the different on the
yes. Yeah. Yes, remember now. Let me go back here. Board. Settings, browse it, backlog, activities, sprints, queries, test runs. Team. There's a specific setting I'm looking for to set up your sprint so that you have a burn down chart. Yes, this is the one I was looking for. Yes. So when it comes to where columns, you see these columns: new, approved, committed, under review, done. New, approved, committed, under review, done. That's where you set it up. So you can add your own if you want. You can add another column. If I add another column and say test column, work item limit, see it's 5. So I can increase that or put it to 1. And I can split it into doing and done. And when I click save and close, it adds another sprint here. So this is the work item limit. So if I put more than one work item here, let's say I drag this here, you see it turns to red. Like it's a red flag. My team, when we are doing anything in this column, it has only to be one element. That's what I wanted to show. Swimlanes are these things: expedite, design, development, API integration, data management. So this is highly dependent on how you want to structure your activities. So if I do Swimlanes, you see I have, those are the Swimlanes that I've created. I can add another one. If it's card reordering, how do I allow work items follow the backlog order when changing items, or they reorder when changing columns? So this is now you customizing how your work goes. But when you come to working days and working with bugs, still the same scenario that you can use to plan around how you execute this. I hope this makes a little bit more sense. I don't want to digress more and then I end up confusing you guys. I want us at least to achieve something. Let's plan our epics, plan our features, plan our product backlog items or user stories, and then add tasks to them. Do we have questions so far? Hello?
No. Yeah. No.
So I believe then you guys are equipped in a way to start this off, to start planning your work using Azure boards.
Yes.
I believe so.
Good. So what we can do, you guys can start working on that. If you find any challenges, do let me know. Joshua, what we can do, I'll need to have a call with you just to help me out, figure out something. So I want us to or rather, actually, this can be done with you guys. I want you guys to give me an Excel list of who you guys are, like your first name, last name, your email address. Phone number is not important right now. And then the team that you're in. And then your capacity in that team. Are you a member or a lead? If you can give me that Excel file, then I can figure out how to automate some of these engagements that we guys have, because I'm kind of engaged in other things. So it becomes a little bit easier for me to provide support to you guys, because I would really love us to have another quick call on Monday, more of a sprint of sorts, 15 minutes, just go through, have you guys been able to create the plan the work items, what challenges have you had, things like that, and then subsequently sometime during the week we can schedule another call just to go through that. Just make sure you've grasped that concept and you understand how that is done. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, so the reason why I want your email addresses is so that I can take over setting up the meetings on my side, because you see from your scenario we are not able to chat. It's a little bit harder to collaborate, and I understand it's probably because this Microsoft Teams channel was set up by a different organization, or it's managed by a different organization. It becomes a little bit easier for me to just collaborate with you guys.
Right. Yeah, Collins, we can have a call later on to plan for the next week.
Okay, good. So that way, at least I know I'll be confident enough to drive the conversations you guys are having. So that would really help. Yeah, any feedback, questions on what we've learned today, and probably if you feel like there's something pressing that you would like to ask or know about, this is the time.
Yeah, Collins, I have a question. This is on behalf of maybe everyone else. Not everyone is a developer here. We have individuals from business side, law,
yes.
And a question I would like to ask on behalf of all of them: how is maybe them learning DevOps? How is that beneficial to them? They're not developers.
Yes, how impactful is it? Yeah. So you see, like what we are doing right now, the work item planning, my suggestion would be, yes, I would like everyone else to understand, but let's have the business quote unquote guys to actually do it, so that we distribute activities. Just give me a minute. I see if I can show you how that works and how that will be impactful going forward. Just 1 minute. Yes, found it. Let me show it to you guys. Probably this should be the last screen share I do. Hopefully, it's 9:50. Yeah. So when you're coming to plan your tasks, there is this part activity, very important. So how do you classify that activity? Is it a deployment? Is it a design? Is it development, documentation? Is it requirements collection? Is it testing? Things like that. So it becomes a little bit easier for you to classify and plan your team's sprint based off of this. How many development hours are you doing? How many design hours? How many deployment hours, something of that sort. So probably in that Excel, you'll also label if that person is in business, is design, is in development, if that is the structure you guys have. If you don't, just fill the structure that you guys have. We'll figure out how to plan it. Okay. So usually, yes?
Because at this moment, I'm only in charge of my team, and so I don't really understand the dynamics in the other teams. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create an Excel file, have it on the general channel, because I believe Collins can be able to access the team.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So I will create a tab on the general channel, and so the team leads and everyone else ensure you see this. I'll do that before the end of tonight. I'll create a tab on the general channel, and inside that tab, it will have a list of all members and their email addresses, because I have that. And then you will, and also whether they are team leads or members. And then from that, the team leads can add the column which has now the dynamics of the team, whichever in the way they've structured it. And then Collins, you can be able to extract, to get the Excel file from there.
Good. That works. Great. I like that. That will be great. But I'll look at it on Monday. I'm now switching mode to working for my startup.
That's okay.
Yeah. All right. So if there are no questions, I think we can end the call.
I have a question.
Sure. Go ahead.
I've been able to set up the epics, but after I view as backlog, I'm not able to see them.
Share your screen. Just try and take you through.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so so you're saying what are you not able to see?
So after I go to backlog,
oh yeah, so, yes, click on stories. So features and stories not able. So go to project settings. Actually, no, click on the settings icon at the that one. Yes. Check that.
Okay.
Then save and close. Go back.
Okay. Perfect.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Good.
Thank you.
Anybody else who has a question? Great. I hope this has been helpful.
Yes, it has.
Awesome.